The moment Javara Buderi was detained, surrounded by Israeli security forces, even though clearly identified as a journalist.
They just came from everywhere, I don't know why, and they kicked me to the wall and where is your ID? I told him, you know me, and you know that we are coming and going in many times.
Overpowered and cornered, Buderi and her team were covering a peaceful demonstration organized in solidarity with the families under threat of forceful eviction in Sheikh Jarrah in occupied East Jerusalem. She had done several live reports already when the security forces started pushing away journalists. She has been accredited with Israel's government press office for many years. She was held and interrogated at the police station, where Buderi says she was treated like a criminal.
Global Group Committee to Protect Journalists is condemning the arrest of a Zimbabwean journalist. This is a correspondent, Jeffrey Moyo, who was arrested last week for allegedly assisting two New York Times journalists enter the country. A Zimbabwe Media Commission employee was also taken into custody. There's growing fear over their harassment in prison. The South African National Editors Forum, in fact, is calling authorities to free Moyo and condemns the deportation of his two colleagues.
Journalist Jeffrey Moyo and Zimbabwe Media Commission employee Tabange Manika were arrested last week. They are charged with contravening the Immigration Act for allegedly assisting New York Times colleagues Christina Goldbaum and Joao Silva enter the country. They appeared in the Bulawayo Magistrate Court and were denied bail. Their lawyers say they are being ill-treated in prison.
A, quote, failed experiment. That's how a U.S. federal judge described California's 3-decade-long ban on assault weapons as he overturned it on Friday, calling the ban unconstitutional. In his court order, Judge Roger Benitez wrote, quote, government is not free to impose its own new policy choices on American citizens where constitutional rights are concerned. It is declared that these statutes unconstitutionally infringe the Second Amendment rights of California citizens. He also likened the AR-15 to a Swiss Army knife, describing both as a, quote, perfect combination of home defense weapon and homeland defense equipment.
The military has ruled Ituri province for a month, but 4 weeks under an unprecedented state of siege wasn't enough to prevent this. One of the deadliest attacks to hit the region in at least 4 years. In displacement camps and villages near Boga and Tachabi, fighters from the Allied Democratic Forces unleashed a night of violence. The rebels abducted at least 25 survivors. Shelters and stores were burned to the ground. Now the area is marked with mass graves. Already displaced, the UN says the attacks have forced nearly 6,000 people to flee again.
Mayhem at the mining giant Richards Bay Minerals continues. So on Friday, the KZN company's heavy-duty machinery was torched by unidentified suspects. The community is claiming that RBM is mining on their grave sites. This follows the recent hit on one of its managers.
Turmoil and violence is not new for Richards Bay Minerals. 5 years ago, the company was battling anti-mining community protest, land issues and criticism over the lack of job opportunities. Now it's being alleged RBM is mining on the community's gravesites. On the 24th of May, one of the company's top managers, Nico Schwartz, was gunned down by unidentified assailants while on his way to work.
To the stage for the first time in months. The former US president will hit key battleground states ahead of next year's midterms and a possible second run for the White House.
His playlist hasn't changed, and neither has his playbook.
I am not the one trying to undermine American democracy. I'm the one that's trying to save it.
Donald Trump is back campaigning on a stage in North Carolina, hand-picking candidates for next year's midterms. His daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, confirming she won't be running.
I am saying no for now, not no forever.
He won't say whether he's running for president in 2024, but has already mapped out his foreign policy priorities.
Thick, oozing, soupy slime covering the coast of the Sea of Marmara near Istanbul. Biologists call it marine mucilage. Others dub it sea snot. Its source is equally icky, organisms feeding on human waste in the warming water. Turkey's president has promised to clean up the gunk. Officials have been ordered to inspect wastewater facilities to find sources of pollution. The substance extends deep below the surface, suffocating sea life. For fishermen, the filth is fouling their boats and killing their catch.
A rescue operation underway, a ferry running aground here in New York on the edge of Brooklyn. More than 100 people on board. There you see it, the U.S. Coast Guard assisting other first responders. The ferry taking on water, rescuers trying to get passengers to the shore. All of this happening as crowds were back out on the water today to beat the heat and amid easing COVID restrictions.
Tonight, the race to evacuate passengers after a ferry ran aground and started taking on water in Brooklyn. First responders with the FDNY and the Coast Guard rushing to the scene. That Sea Streak ferry bottoming out in a shallow area of the East River near the Bushwick Inlet.
"40 years ago, he went to jail for trying to assassinate then-President Ronald Reagan. Today, John Hinckley is a free man and now going public with his side hustle as a singer."
It's John Hinckley belting out love songs on YouTube. In 1981, Hinckley wounded President Ronald Reagan in a failed assassination attempt. He said he did it to win the heart of actress Jodie Foster. Hinckley was found not guilty by reason of insanity and spent 35 years in a psychiatric hospital. Now 64, Hinckley has been living with his mother in Virginia. He has posted his love songs anonymously but received almost no views. So Hinckley petitioned a judge to allow him to perform using his name.
Paris from the air is a spectacular sight. A bird's eye view along the River Seine towards the Eiffel Tower, or soaring high over the Arc de Triomphe, and then above the famous domes of the Sacré-Cœur Basilica. These views made accessible thanks to modern camera drones. But since January the 1st, Paris's professional drone operators have been locked in a bitter battle with the city's police, the Préfecture, which is refusing to grant permissions to fly. The roots of this dispute go back to 2020, with legal rulings on civil liberties grounds preventing French police from using their own drones to monitor public protests and gatherings. Many believe the Paris police chief, Didier Lallemand, is now taking revenge.